Are we ready? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Our confidence in the adage that says, where there is a problem, there has to be a solution. Has to be uplifted because that's correct. Earlier when we parted here going for a tea break, there was a smaller hiccup with regards to receiving the keynote address from our premier through a digital platform, and a team working on that task was assigned to work out a solution to make sure that the promise that we've made to all of you that we will receive the keynote address from the Premier today. That will happen. A solution has been found which will also then make the running of our program to continue to run smooth. If you check in terms of the program, we're still on time. The manner in which now we are going to follow through with our program is as follows. We will receive the keynote address from the Premier, and after we have received that, we will then move into session 2, which will be dealing with the tourism sector recovery. And the moderator for that section will be Mayor Kelekruani, who's the DDT of LIDET and also a member of the NTA board. So, after having received that presentation, Metro will come over and we will continue with the program. I now have the pleasure to call upon the NEC of Treasury to be the one that will come and present the keynote address of the Premier to all of us. Moreki Sukwati, please ascend the stage and deliver the keynote address on behalf of the Premier. Thank you.
Thank you, Program Director. Thank you, Program Director Ntate Endrudi Pela, MEC for LIDET, Ntate Thabo Mokoni, the Speaker of Polokwane Municipality, City of Stars, Ntate Maribela Lefutani, Head of Department or Acting Head of Department of LIDET, and the Head of Department for Provincial Treasury, members of the Board of Limpopo Provincial, Limpopo Tourism Agency, members of the media, esteemed ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. On behalf of the Premier of Limpopo, Ntate Stanley Mathabata, let me start by thanking all of you for such an overwhelming response to this Limpopo tourism Lekgotla. Your presence is highly valued and appreciated. There is indeed no ordinary meeting but a Lekgotla. In an African tradition, we summon a Lekgotla when a community or society is besieged with challenges that require attention and resolution. A Lekgotla is a traditional, it's attended by select and revered members of our community and society. I got no doubt that delegates to this Lekgotla are equally revered and renowned practitioners in the space of tourism and economic development in general. We trust in our collective willingness and abilities to finding solutions that will propel our tourism sector to greater heights. Like attendees of a Lekgotla in a traditional African community, you come to this meeting with valued knowledge and unmatched commitment to finding solutions to prevailing challenges. From Director, the theme for this Lekgotla, as mentioned before, is advancing tourism growth through investment and partnerships. What is known is the fact that the growth we are all yearning for has been, to a greater extent, impaired by a prevailing COVID-19 restrictions. COVID-19 and its restrictions is only our reality. Our plans and programs cannot ignore this reality. And if we are to move beyond just a talk show, our planning must embrace this reality. It's an open secret that the tourism sector has been the hardest hit by this coronavirus pandemic. It is even worse for ourselves as Limpopo because tourism is a competitive edge of our provincial economy. Limpopo has been doing very well with regard to both domestic and international travel. This is in part owed to our aggressive marketing campaign and strategies. However, our performance in this sector is largely owed to the splendor of our natural beauty. The scenic beauty of Limpopo is unmatched, not only in this country but worldwide. These dramatic landscapes of our mountains and the rivers, the inviting beauty of our flora and the rich diversity of our fauna remain without a true counterpart. Limpopo is indeed a destination of choice for those who are serious about travel and leisure. Indeed, as I said in February during the State of the Province address, the tourism sector in our province has been growing and flourishing since 2015. As a matter of fact, tourism sector in Limpopo held pole position worldwide in domestic travels with approximately 22.2 million arrivals. Limpopo has been competing at the top with regard to international travels. As I have said, the impact of COVID-19 on our provincial economy was particularly devastating. In response, as a provincial government, we have been implementing a provincial tourism recovery plan whose focus is to protect and maintain the provincial tourism market share and tourism infrastructure, and to aggressively market Limpopo as a tourism destination of choice. From Director, the recovery plan we can ever implement in this sector and beyond is achieving population immunity from COVID-19. We can only achieve this if we get as many of our people to go out and vaccinate against COVID-19. Our national government and our provincial government have released a quantum of resources to achieve this objective. Our country is amongst the very few in the world with sufficient vaccine doses for its population. The challenge is therefore for all of us to go out and get our jabs. This is an urgent thing to do if we are to recover the lost ground. Tourism sector in this province and in our country can only go back to its former glory if the people embrace the urgency of vaccination. We have seen in many countries across the globe lives returning almost back to normal because the people have embraced vaccination. In many countries across Europe, people are flocking. This is exactly what we need if our
Honorable Mrs. Kwati, ladies and gentlemen, can I take this opportunity now to invite Metuani to continue with section 2. Over to you, Metuani. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director, the Chairperson for the Board of LTA, Dr. Bila. Let me start by observing the protocol that has been established by MEC Sikwati on behalf of the Premier when he was doing the official opening of this Lekota. As indicated, I will be the moderator for the session 2 that is focusing on the road to recovery for the sector. At this point in time, I would like to extend an invitation to the distinguished members of the panel that will be joining me on the Festival of Ideas, as the MEC has indicated in his opening remarks, where we will have the conversation around how we can kickstart the road to recovery for the province. I would like to extend an invitation to the Acting Head of Department, Dr. Tumbu, to join the panel. And also, I would like to extend the invitation to the CEO of TBCSA, who is in our midst, Mr. Chifiwa Chimenga, and also extend the invitation to Mr. Gerard Franken, the Chairperson of the LPTA, who is in our midst, and also Mr. Jack Blau from the Waterberg District Tourism to join me. As part of this session, we will be having the three presentations while the members of the panel are coming through to join me on the floor here. And I'm going to request the tech team as well to make sure that they prep them with the necessary gadgets that will enable us to have a smooth conversation for this session. While the members of the panel are being prepped to come through, I would like to request the tech team to start first with the video that they need to play that is showcasing the beauty of the province in terms of the offerings that we have as a Limpopo for the tourism sector. The tech team, can we start first with the first video, please?
Just give me a mic. Do you have a handheld mic? Give me a handheld mic. Thank you. I don't need that. You're doing a presentation now.
We are also going to be joined by the acting CEO of SA Tourism, Mrs. Timbile Dlamini, who will be joining with us virtually. Can the tech team as well also ensure that she's connected? Thank you.
Okay, I come.
On the continent and in the diaspora. And all Jambo, bonjour, Sanbonan, greetings to all my fellow
Because there's
Africans
four of us.
on the continent and in the diaspora, and all our partners around the world.
I'm just trying to.
South African tourism, together with the Department
Because the
of
rest of them are
Tourism,
sitting.
are proud to host the first ever African Travel and
Do you want to
Tourism
come and
Summit.
fit in there? Or must
No
I-
doubt the COVID-19 pandemic has dealt our continent's tourism industry a heavy blow. Encouragingly, we are now making our way towards a recovery phase, and a summit of this nature is critical in ensuring that we are aligned as a continent. As we together reignite the tourism industry towards an inclusive recovery, it is time we start to showcase our African continent's leisure tourism and business events hosting capabilities. In celebration of Tourism Month here in South Africa, and as we look towards World Tourism Day on 27th of September, we could not think of a better way to showcase Destination Africa than to come together and reflect on the renewed journey ahead. At Africa's Travel and Tourism Summit, we hope to have robust engagement on the current state of tourism on the African continent. Together we will discuss tourism challenges, explore emerging trends, and share ideas on collective recovery initiatives and solutions. We will also talk about the beauty and the value that the African continent has to offer to both leisure and business travelers. As a delegate, you will have the option to attend virtually or physically at two identified venues in Johannesburg and Durban in South Africa, or at two other locations on the rest of the African continent. All our venues will have strict COVID-19 health and safety protocols in place. Africa as a continent is made up of a sum of vibrant countries whose tourism offering is rich and diverse. Destination Africa is ready with renewed energy and vigor to pave the way to welcome the world and to host big events. Be sure not to miss out on the conversations and on being part of the solutions. We look forward to engaging with you at Africa's Travel and Tourism Summit. Registration details are on your screen right now. See you there.
Thank you very much, the tech team. That video was meant to be a teaser in terms of the kind of conversations that we are looking at in terms of the road to recovery. I feel so privileged to be in the midst of the gentlemen, in the rows among the thorns that are here with me, but I know that they will stimulate the robust discussions that we really need to engage on as the partners and the stakeholders for the sector. The first speaker that I will be inviting to take us through the presentation, it will be Mr. Jetlau, who will then introduce himself also in terms of the context. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Jetlau.
Good morning, everyone. When I received a call from from Limpopo Tourism. I felt like a primary school player being called up to the National League because I'm a mere restaurant owner, tourism, and probably living through what many in this room probably lived through as well. And it's the impacts of COVID that we locals that are really passionate about bringing Waterberg tourism to its rightful platform. So representing Waterberg within Limpopo, and then speaking on behalf of industry, I would really consider it a privilege. But I do know there are many speakers over the next 2 days that are probably much more equipped to speak on Limpopo. So this is not about highlighting certain establishments or product owners. It was merely me searching our province and really getting to the same conclusion: Limpopo, unlike any other. We are really blessed with the ultimate combination, thank you. The ultimate combination of nature, wildlife, culture, adventure and heritage, all in one province. But I think if I achieve one thing today, it would basically be the following. We really urgently need to do less talk and do more action.
Sure.
Because I think if I look at what we have in abundance in this province, we should be much further ahead in terms of our efforts. We have 5 wonderful districts. Just see if this works. I'm not sure which one I pushed that worked, but I'll figure it out now. There we go. 5 wonderful districts, from the wonderful Waterberg in the southwest, all the way to Mopani in the north. Choice, spoiled with choice that we can offer visitors to our province. So I'm really just going to break it up in a couple of topics and say it's all about, firstly, nature. Did you know that we have the only savanna biosphere reserve in the world? It's called the Waterberg. Over 2 million hectares of pure nature, blessed on our doorstep. A diversity equal to probably very little places in the world. One of 500 UNESCO reserves. But like they say in the advertisements, but wait, there's more. We also have the Vembi Nature Reserve. The largest biosphere reserve in South Africa. And if you think that's not enough, we also have the Kruger to Canyon Reserve. Ladies and gentlemen, that makes it 3 biosphere reserves in one province out of 10. We are the epicenter of conservation, and we need to go and share that with the world. Because if you travel these areas, I've been lucky to travel the world in my previous life, so to say, before I decided to work for myself, work in small business. And I'll tell you, there's nothing that South Africa does not have to offer that you can see in the rest of the world. Let me share you one example. Nelspruit. The Ramsar site, a wetland of international importance. Over 400 bird species together in this wetland. Now here's what's interesting. Combined in that little area, it's more bird life that you will find in the whole of Europe. Who's been to Nelspruit? I see a few hands. Further, it's all about conservation. I saw Richard York is on the program tomorrow, so he will be much more versed to speak about saving the rhino. International campaign. But did you know we have a rhino orphanage, a rhino revolution, rhino revolution in Hoedspruit, and stop rhino poaching MPC in Bella Bella. Three separate entities trying to save the species that we know as the rhino. Only 5 species in the world, 2 of them in South Africa, the white and the black rhino, and some wonderful conservation efforts going along with that. Most of you would know Adventures with Elephants. One of our fellow directors, Mr. Sean Hensman, put it so aptly. Diversity at our diversity of our conservation effort is unparalleled in the world. Not only do we have sanctuaries, we have orphanages, we have volunteer programs. People don't just come to see in Limpopo, they can actually experience wildlife and experience making a difference. So if you've never been to Adventures with Elephants, please try and make a turn to Bella Bella, Boiling, if I recall correctly, and go and experience what the wildlife has to offer. And then talking about Waterberg, I'm not sure how many of you are aware of the efforts that's going in to conserve the wild dogs, specifically their habitat. It's a community-based effort where over 40 different private properties are working together to create 45,000 hectares for the wild dogs to roam freely. They've just come out of their denning season, and the beauty is 7 new cubs. So the herd has grown, and it's efforts like this that we can attract the world. Very unique species and something to see. During COVID, this is so unique that even during COVID, they had over 250 people come to view the denning of the wild dog. It's also about our heritage. I don't have to introduce Mapungubwe to you. Africa's first gold center. Now, I think it's apt that our President of the country, Mr. Ramaphosa, referred to tourism as the new Africa Gold. And I think that's what we need to realize and understand, that it takes some toil. Some people had to travel quite far to get to the gold. But once you have it in your hands, you still need to manufacture, you still need to create something out of it. So tourism is not going to be a goal by itself. We need to create more packages, more routes, more sites like this that we can basically display to the world. So not only cultural heritage, my apology, but also natural heritage. Marikele National Park on our doorstep, place of sanctuary, multiple heritage sites written up in a document, but we struggle to package that for our tourists. So please, National Department of Tourism, if sandparks come and ask for funding, or sandparks themselves, let's invest and open up beautiful Tswana heritage in terms of sightings, in terms of rock art. Yes, we do have some historical rock art, Kuku, San and Sutu rock art, believed to be over 800 pieces of work in the Limpopo province. And here's another hidden gem, established by the Clive Walker Foundation, the Waterberg Living Museum. Come and spend a day in Valwater. Come and have a look how they've basically helped us to better understand the elephant and the rhino, but also the Waterberg, ancient Africa, and the whole Museum of Memory. I've not included many other heritage sites that we have in Limpopo, the Irish House in Market Street, Polokwane, Stradam House in Nelstrom, Molamole, Tulamela, the Makapans Valley just around the corner from here, and the old Boabab in Majaji, not to even to mention the Cycads. If we have so much, why are we not getting more of the world here? Now, if I ask that question in my business, to the people out there, and if I see international guests, you know what? What's the first 2 things that they ask me? They ask, is it safe? Is it safe? Now, those that knows the Maslow's hierarchy, it's the first thing. People want their safety. And it's our role to build that into our plans, to make sure that we create a safe environment, that people can enjoy this freely. And then the second piece, and this is quite sad because this is something we can directly do day to day. They ask, is it clean? It doesn't need a khotla for us to get those two things right. It just needs a commitment to understand the basics matter to our tourists. Let's talk about choice. Well, I tell you, I would love to visit Palala, but I don't think my budget will allow that. But for the international tourist, they might stop by a filling station, they might buy some things at a curio shop. So I'm too glad for Palala to offer something as exquisite as this. Or, like Kylie and the rest will explain tomorrow, you know, have a traditional African homestay, really experience Africa in a different perspective, becoming more and more popular, and some wonderful initiatives throughout Limpopo. And after a night, they might go back to Waterberg and spend a day in Marataba. I believe that they have some specials currently. I'm not sure, the previous price was 12,600 Rand a night, so not sure where that would come out. But a beautiful place where we really experience the Waterberg biosphere and what it has to offer, especially the big farm as well. And here at the bottom right, glamping. I don't think there's any province that can offer glamping the way Limpopo can. But it's also all about taste. We've got cultures that offer us tsonga prepared tivenda delicacies like mupani worms. I'm not sure if I pronounce this correctly. Mashotwa and watamani, is that correct? Dried termites, even roasted if you want to. Chicken feet or walkies, cow heels. The strange thing is, it doesn't matter what we put on offer, people want to experience this. Life is about experiences, all right? And it took me too long to actually taste walkies. And I must say, it's quite a nice delicacy, even if you put it on the fire. Or, if you're boring, you can go for some fine dining again. Balaborwa, Amarula Lapa. Who's visited Lapa? Right? Great example of the biodiversity economy. How you can use marula and turn it into something that's now a global phenomenon. And let's hope that we all get vaccinated like the call has been throughout the day, so that we can have things like the Marula Festival again, where we attract people and we show them what Limpopo is about. And then this one is quite unique to me. And Setsong in Marble Hall. It's a 100% black-owned company of youth and women, and they work with the rural cooperatives, right? And they offer these great high teas, and their product is available online to buy. So let's support these type of initiatives, where we've got a local product, you know, that all the policies speak to. But there's one thing that's true, and that's the passion that they have throughout. It's all about our cultures. Nyani Cultural Village, the roots of the rhythm show, where they basically take you through dances and songs of many cultures, a tapestry of Limpopo cultures. We all know the African ivory route with the Fundutsi, Blogar, Mafefe camps. Ikaya village, or Ikaya villa. These are only 3 examples. You know, you can make a whole trip through Limpopo just visiting different cultural experiences. A route on its own, supporting these type of initiatives. And then one that I really found interesting and that I want to learn more of, brandlimpopo.org, where you actually get that African touch. You know, great garments of all the different tribes, and that's something that I also often get asked of. You know, where can I buy these colorful shirts, these colorful dresses? You know, we have hunters coming into our area, thousands of them, and they want to take something home. And we should get these products on many more shelves. You can just see, according to time, I'm still okay? Yes. Thank you. In my younger days, it would have been all about adventure. The Shiva Mountain retreat, 13 different hiking trails that you can do there and experience nature firsthand. Or do some zip lining over Magubas Kloof. There's 2 or 3 other places where you can do zip lining in Limpopo currently. Tubing, all right, wonderful pastime for your kids. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do the rapids anymore, but quite exhilarating. Or just leave the tube and jump, do some kloofing in many areas. The Mountain Club of South Africa actually has prominent Limpopo sites that they promote to their members, where we're pulling the people from Gauteng, you know, where they want to get away from traffic and just jump into a tranquil pool like they do in the sport. And then it's all about sports. How many golfers in the room? Only 1, 2. Well, if you played like me yesterday, I also have put up my hand. But again, we can do a whole golf tour just with the courses in Limpopo. Elements, Coral Creek, Zabula, Hans Marinsky, to name a few. So we should put that on the list and make sure that all the golfers in this country play it. It's one of the biggest sports in the country and in the world. You know, we have Retief Goosen, a local boy from Polokwane that was, you know, #1 in the world. And I'll tell you now, you experience nature as you walk on these courses. The way I play golf, I normally saw all the different trees, so I'm a dendrologist as well. Trail running, mountain biking. Where do I need to point this that I can just make sure it moves? And then finally, to get to, we call that for the black leopards, Bafana, we should celebrate all the soccer that gets played on the different farms in our country. All right? And I really think that's an initiative for entrepreneur to put together something like that. A soccer tournament through all the different farm schools. Okay? Because that's where the real life action happens. We've got one of our local juniors that was spotted by Mamelodi Sundowns at one of the farm schools and is now actually in the training group for Mamelodi Sundowns. But we also have people that we can celebrate. Victor Matfield, all right, all the way from Polokwane, Dale Stain, Palaborwa boy, Avi de Villiers, Bella Bella. So we do generate the stars for the future in Limpopo. And that brings me to I promise it's not me, I'm pressing. Can you do it manually on that side? I'll just raise my finger. And it's all about our people's stories. Okay, and I haven't asked permission, but if you can put up the next slide. Love Limpopo is doing a brilliant job of introducing us to some of our Limpopo people, sharing their expertise and what they bring to tourism. And I hope that that page will continue to grow as we get to know the personalities, the people that really make the difference, the people that tell the stories to our tourists. We've got our own Sydney, Mr. Dumbeatles in Waterberg, He's just been recognized to also now offer tour guide training, something that we've really been asking for, because just for our little area we've worked out we need over 300 guides to really deal with the capacity that we will generate. The Limpopo Youth Choir, Ms. Ise Musida. If you're from Limpopo, you're special. That's the message. If you're from Limpopo, you're special, and we must celebrate that with the world. And finally, and I think I'll end off with this, it's about our association. Next slide. We will not achieve the work that needs to be done in our time. I often refer to myself as feeling relevance with somebody like Moses in the Bible. Why? Because he traveled for 40 years through a desert leading the people, and he didn't see the beloved land. And that takes a special mindset, that I think each of us must have in the room. That we must be willing to travel the road, the hard yards. We must be willing to create for our future generations. And we might not see the beloved land of the things that we are busy with. But let's work together, next, with organizations like the LPTA that's working hard to try and pull the different towns and the different associations, the different product owners together to create common good, to create alignment, to make sure that our effort is not 1 + 1 = 2, but 1 + 1 = 3. People that do it out of their own free time. And Gerard, I know you don't often get thanked for the work that you do behind the scenes, but it's important for us to continue these efforts. It's also about working with the different individual associations, and there are people doing great work out there. Next slide. The wonderful Waterberg. We've now decided, the different towns, that we get together and we will promote Waterberg, right? Because suddenly Tabazimbi can now promote Falwater and Falwater Tabazimbi, and a one-night stay can become a two-night stay for a tourist. And we can start packaging, what Waterberg has to offer. And people like Judy Groenewald, Dr. Sid Katten, Ken Moore, doing exceptional work in trying to get overseas investors involved in this. But there's another reason why we went this way, because the District 1 plan is one of the pilot districts is Waterberg. So it makes sense for us to also look then in aligning ourselves with the structures, the investment structures for the future. The next slide. Balaborwa, Marilda, doing great work in Balaborwa. Go and have a look at their website. Go and see who the product owners are at that level. And then one that I haven't met the people, but if you see their work, this is what tourism is about. These are the people that really, give you that energy, that adrenaline. The next slide. Love Limpopo. I saw Miss Lisa Martis is on the program tomorrow. The traveling circus, they call themselves. All right. But go and just visit this website and see what they've put together and how they really open up the experiences on offer, in our beautiful province. They call it the love story, and I can understand why if you start reading and experiencing what they've already seen. But then, we can't just stop here. Next. It's all about our vision, our individual visions. MECC Ukati would know that I've been pushing for two things as part of my vision for the town. Next slide. One is to take the old Kumba mining plant and change it into a tourism hub of some sort. Right, I won't give up on that vision, because it can create a very unique mining tourism experience. But we're going to need support. We're going to need for us to start looking at multiple players getting involved and changing this, not only into a tourism hub, but a biodiversity economy node. Right? Making sure that there's multiple uses, because many times tourism goes about it on its own. We need to find a model between economy, or the economic activities, as well as then just the experiences. But while people are busy working, creating, it can be part of the tourist experience. So we really need to talk more serious about that. Why? Because once we've got that in place, we're also going to have, the next slide, the Adrenaline Festival. We need to start thinking of how we attract the future generations, the Gen Ys, the Gen Millennials, I think they call themselves. my kids, so to say. They love these adrenaline sports. This is an active mine in Switzerland, Erzberg. All right? They draw about 40,000 spectators per year, looking at motocross and all kinds of sports around the open cast mine. We've got about 3 of those in Tabazimbi that's standing empty. All right? Not actively being mined anymore. So it's just a mindset that we need to change. We need to start talking as different MECs together. We need to start talking as different departments, because the Department of Mineral and Energy should not prevent something like that happening, through the safety standards, while we can create something out of tourism. So it's about collaboration across sectors. It is about looking at these opportunities in a different way, and not say, well, I'm in mining, I don't have anything to do with tourism. Tourism is an enabler for many of the other sectors. So I think one needs to start the discussion at tourism. And then, finally, next slide. It is all about our belief. Our belief in our province, our belief that COVID is just there to teach us modesty, teach us that we need to work at what we want to do, teach us that we need a standard higher than what we had, because everybody is going to be anxious to pull back tourists to their parts of the world. So we need to set ourselves up for excellence. We need to work behind the scenes when nobody's looking, every day, every night, to make sure that we create something, next slide, that people can believe. We all know that Bay of Buck Tree is 4,000 years old. Our combined age is not even that. All right? But if we all work together, we can leave areas like this through conservation, through our efforts. We can leave for the world and for our future generation. So I end off. After all you've heard, next slide, it is all about our Limpopo. Unlike any other province in this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jablau, for showcasing the profile of the variety of the product offerings that Limpopo has. I think as of today, if there's one person I know I have really satisfied what has been really a niggling issue from his side in terms of the work that we are doing, is my Honorable MEC Mokoni, whom he has been on the edge to say, what is it that we have as Limpopo that we showcase and profile to the people to understand the variety of the product offerings. I think MEC, at least for today, one box is ticked on my side. Let me take this opportunity as well to allow Musa Gidi, who is now joining me on the panel from the National Department of Tourism, to take us through a presentation that unpacks the National Tourism Recovery Plan in terms of the work that we have done at national level, and also what is required and the expectation and the contribution from us as a province. Welcome, Musa, to Limpopo.
Many months ago, I was actually at university with the chair of the board, and I don't remember. At a university which has since changed its name. And it's interesting because the chair himself has changed the name that I used to know him about. Yes, he was Truza then, full time. Thanks very much, DDG. The management of the province, the executive mayor, who I believe all the colleagues from the tourism sector. The tourism sector is one which demands collaboration. We simply cannot achieve anything. No one party in this space can actually achieve anything single-handedly. So I've been requested just to take the session through the recovery plan. We all know that our sector has really been decimated with the impacts of the COVID-19 and everything that followed after that. So sometime last year there was an initiative, which was a sector initiative, although it was led by the department as well as the National Agency, South African Tourism, to then identify what it is that we needed as a sector to recover, so that when the opportunity presents itself for the sector to truly recover, we have a plan, we have a sense of what actions need to be taken to make sure that we do indeed recover. Can we have the next slide, please? Or should I? So I do like to just start at the beginning, so to speak, and speak about the context that we had in the tourism sector before we had the devastation and the decline. Our sector was one which was identified as a growth sector. When I say identified as a growth sector, I mean at least at a government, at a central government level, starting from Treasury and the DTIC. This was a sector that was seen as very much a growth sector, partly based on the history of performance that had been recorded, but also what was happening globally in terms of the trajectory of the sector itself, and projections that were there about the increase in tourism activity. So that's where we were at that time. The sector in the overall economy has got relevance, of course, in terms of GDP, because